Captain Sandy, and welcome to Beyond the Docks. Here, we explore real-time maritime careers with people who live them. So let's get started.
Good afternoon, my name is Graeme Lord with Professional Yacht Crew based out of Cayman Islands. I'm in the engine room of the yacht Carte Blanche, which is a 165-foot power yacht. This is the typical engine room layout that you would expect for a yacht of this size. So right next to me we have the main engines, of course, your main form of propulsion. Next on each side of the main engines we have a generator over there and a generator over there and a third generator at the back. The vessel can run on one generator, but being at sea, you need to have as much redundancy as you possibly can. To my right, we have the fire pumps and the bilge pumps for emergencies. As I move back, that is a alpha valve, which is used to polish the fuel, so we keep the fuel clean as we possibly can at all times. Moving back through the engine room, over here we have the stabilizers. The stabilizers come out the side of the vessel and they keep the boat from rolling around too much. Over on this side, because we're out at sea, we need water makers. This takes salt water and transforms it into fresh drinkable water and water that you would bathe and shower in and clean the vessel down with. And to the back over here we have the air conditioning plant. That piece of equipment is probably the most important piece of equipment that nobody thinks about, which is the sewage treatment plant. We are very, very cautious of our environment in this industry. So nothing is allowed to go over the vessel that is not clean and that will harm the environment. And another critical piece of equipment over there is what they call the oily water separator. So if we did have any oil that was leaked out of the engines or the generators, the oil would be separated from the water and it would be stored on board and the water would be pumped over the side. The main engines, just like all the other equipment, has full digital monitoring systems which will send off alarms and warnings in the engine and up in the bridge, so the captain and watchkeepers can see what's going on too, along with a full video system that monitors everything. The electrical switch panel is in a separate compartment in the engine room, so that in the event of a fire that they would not be shut down and we wouldn't lose electricity. Everything is digitally controlled from here, and while we're at sea, this room is completely separated from the engine room because it is very hot and noisy in there. At the start of the day, we do a full walk around the engine room to make sure that everything is functioning correctly. We have a full maintenance system on board that tells us when things are due for maintenance, and we will attack those on a priority basis. A yacht of this size typically has a chief engineer and often a second engineer who are trained in every piece of equipment that is on board and are able to fix practically anything while at sea. While at sea, all the equipment is monitored on an hourly basis. The engineer does a full walk through the engine room, make sure that obviously everything's functioning, but also transferring fuel and making sure that the water makers are making water as needed and consumed on board the vessel. There are three dirty jobs that have to be done on a regular basis. One is maintaining the alpha valve, which cleans the fuel system. The second is maintaining the sewage treatment plant. And the third is making sure that the sea strain is always clean, as they make sure that the cooling water for all the equipment is not fouled up with any algae or other debris. Being a yacht engineer is a really satisfying job because you're challenged on a daily basis to keep everything running as the crew and the guest safety becomes the lifeline of your daily duties. The job pays extremely well and it's a high demand position, so you really will never be unemployed. Many engineers come from a background where they've done an apprenticeship of some sort in a relevant business, such as in the motor industry, plumbing or electrical world. Transitioning to sea requires a lot of sea time and training in specialized schooling, which is decided by the size of the vessel and the amount of distance that you're allowed to travel offshore in that vessel. A fire at sea is one of the most terrifying things that you'll ever experience. It is the chief engineer's responsibility to make sure all the equipment needed for that fire is operational, and that in the event of an actual fire, you're the person that's most likely going to put your life on the line. Many people ask me what role the chief engineer holds within the crew status. The best answer I've ever heard was that the captain runs the vessel and the chief engineer makes the vessel run. The worst noise you ever hear in the engine room is no noise at all. That means that everything stopped running. Learning all the systems on a yacht takes about a year, and it's very difficult to stand up to someone who is telling you to go to sea when you're not ready. The most common mistake that chief engineers make is not standing up and go, the vessel's not ready, we're not leaving. Engineers are in very short supply, and you are guaranteed employment. Right from day one, you are the second highest paid person on the vessel other than the captain. And with time served, you often become the highest paid person because you are working every single day, whereas captains are often on rotation or find themselves between jobs for a longer period. Many people say that engineers are grumpy, and that's not really true. The truth behind the matter is you've got a lot to think about every day. And sometimes you're just inside your own head thinking about all the things you have to achieve every day, which doesn't always make you the most sociable person. We've got a lot of equipment in a small space, so accessibility becomes a real challenge when you're designing a vessel. A well-designed vessel allows you to access equipment from every angle and maintain it and work on it with ease. As you've seen in this engine room, they're a pristine area. Sometimes the owner gets a little bit out of control and wants them carpeted. That is weird. To enter yachting, first thing you should ask yourself, is this something I really want to do for a career? The basic requirement is to CW 95, which is a 1-week course and requires about $1,000 investment plus a week of your time. That's not a guaranteed in, but it's a minimum requirement. The most important thing is to really ask yourself, honestly, do you like serving people? Do you like to be in a community type of environment? And do you like to be isolated for long times? In my current company, PYC, and the company that I formerly owned, which is called Fairport Yacht Support, my target employee was ex-crew, so that they had a real understanding. Unless you've been on a boat and you've spent time sleeping in the bow of the boat as a crew member, you really don't understand what is going on board the vessel. So that is our basic entry level. If we find people with the right attitude, we'll train them regardless of what their background schooling is. The most common misconception is if you start working on board a yacht, that your role is just to do that job. Working on board a yacht requires that you are essentially a multi-purpose crew member, and I always encourage anybody that works on board a yacht, if your duties are done for the day, go to the rest of the departments and see where they need help and lend a hand wherever you can. In every company that I run, including the crew companies that I'm involved in, it's very important that people progress through their career. Unfortunately, most people, in order to progress, have to resign and move on to another job. I'm firmly against that. I believe that promoting within is the best way forward. So sometimes if there is no promotion available on board the yacht, we'll move a crew member over to another one of our clients' yachts where they can progress. Entry-level positions in yachting pay very well, and there has to be understanding that you're being paid very well because you're expected to leave your family and your day-to-day life behind, and that's really what you're getting paid for, along with the duties that you're actually doing. So most people can start in this industry at about a $3,500 per month range, along with other benefits, including free living and uniform, medical insurance. The sky's the limit on where you want to go with earning. Most captains are earning not less than $150,000, at least in our fleet, when we have captains exceeding $300,000 before tips. One of the cool things about yachting is that there is an unlimited amount of positions that you can progress into, whether both on board the vessel or moving ashore. The most important thing, in my opinion, is to look and see what you really enjoy. For example, if you started working on the interior, but you really enjoy working on the exterior, then move to the exterior and give it a go. In my experience, my career started to progress a lot faster when I started to pay attention to the whole industry, not just what was going on the vessel I was working on and what was going on within my department. There's an incredible amount of growth that's available in the charter side of this industry. The sales side is difficult, but there's opportunities, but there's so many other sides available within the industry. So start paying attention to what the industry is doing, go to boat shows and participate. I think the most common misconception is that this job is really just a bunch of fun, and the job is fun, make no mistake, but there's a real career here. And that if you put your head down and approach this as a career, you will have a lifelong job in this industry, and you will make more money than you probably would as a college graduate. The industry would benefit a great deal if the mindset changed slightly to this being a transient job. as opposed to this being a career. There are a lot of people that pass through who just want to take a gap year, and that's fine, but let's be honest, that's what your intentions are. But the misconception is everybody's passing through, and that's simply not true. Professional yacht crew, also known as PYC, employs the crew and takes on all the liability related to employment and leases them back to the owner of the boat. I stumbled into the yachting industry while I was traveling around the world. I was in Newport, Rhode Island, and met deckhand on board one of the yachts. Asked them what they were doing, and they said that the engines couldn't start. So with my background as a diesel mechanic, was able to get on board, start the engines, and at that point the captain of the vessel offered me a job as a second engineer. The name of my boat was given to me by a friend, and I thought it was kind of cool. So mine is called Lord of the Seas, and that's after my last name, Graeme Lord.